Hi everybody out in YouTube land. My name is Carrie, and if you're watching this video, then either you know me and I told you I put this up, or you are looking at some kind of big spine surgery such as a fusion, because that's what I'm here to talk about. Recently found out that I will be having, I was going to say probably, will be having an anterior interbody lumbar fusion. And I'll talk more about what that is in a little bit. But I thought it might be a good idea to do a video diary. When I found out that I needed the surgery, I won't lie, I'm scared. I'm definitely scared. But I started looking on YouTube. And what I was actually looking for were video clips of the actual surgery. And I found them. I also found kind of a computer graphic version of what the surgery is, which was very helpful in explaining it and showing me exactly what they would be doing. But what I also found were other people's video diaries of their own process of going through a lumbar fusion. And so I started watching those, and I found them to be really interesting and really helpful. What I will tell you right off the bat that I found was that everybody's different. And I think that's the most important thing for everyone out there to know, is that everyone has a different set of circumstances. Everyone's going to respond differently to their surgery. I watched 3 different video diaries, and I'll probably watch more. The first one I found was a woman. Actually, they were all women. And this particular woman, when I looked at her entry a year after the surgery, she was still having a lot of pain. And that really concerned me a great deal. I thought, oh my gosh, what am I getting into? Maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should think twice about this. Am I going to be worse off after the surgery than I am now? I was nervous. And then the second person I watched was so completely different. 1 week after her surgery, she was sitting up at her desk, just like I'm sitting up right now talking to you, and left a half-hour video entry about how great she feels. So, you know, you're going to have a lot of different outcomes depending on a lot of different variables. So whatever my experience is, and I don't yet know what that's going to be, isn't necessarily going to be your experience. So it's really important that you know that. It's also really important that you know I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I don't have a medical background. I've done a lot of research, I've asked a lot of questions, and I've talked to a lot of people who have already been through this in some fashion or another. And of course I've watched these video diaries. So I don't know, I just thought it might be a good idea to also do a video diary because, well, 2 reasons. Number one, I'm scared, and I thought this might be kind of good for me to go through this process. Just kind of talk it out, as I go along. And the other thing was, I found those video diaries really helpful, and maybe other people will find my video diaries very helpful too. And I don't know if I'm ever actually going to put them out there on YouTube. If you're watching this, I guess I did. We'll see. And I don't know if I'm going to put them out as I make each entry, or if I'm going to go through the whole process and create a whole bunch of entries or posts and then upload them all at once. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. A little background about me. I am 43 years old. I live in northern New Jersey, about 10 miles outside of New York City. I am a middle school teacher, science teacher, and I guess a little background about how I got to where I am and my back situation. A lot of people ask me, well, what happened? What happened to your back? Was there an accident? Where did the injury come from? Well, there really wasn't an injury. I think it's probably a genetic condition. My mother, as it happens, needs the same surgery, or at least a very similar surgery. She's still going through the process of finding out what she needs, although it's starting to look like she and I will have our surgeries pretty close together. We're trying to stagger them so that, we can, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work out. I will probably have mine first, so she will be able to take care of me to a certain extent. She's retired, so she has the time a little bit during the day if I need to, be with her during that time. My sister goes to school full time. My dad works, of course, and so she's home. But when she goes for her surgery, I don't know how able I'm going to be able to take care of her. And that said, my father and sister will probably be the ones to take on the majority of the responsibility of caring for us after our surgeries. And so we don't have an easy time ahead, I think, but it is what it is. But because she needs the same surgery, one of the things that's probably indicative of is that this is genetic. And my problems with my back started more than 20 years ago. I was in college, and my back just started hurting me, and it hurt a lot. I was complaining for, I don't know how long, a month, a couple months, 3 months, I don't know. And I did go to an orthopedist, and I think he put me on naproxen, maybe, I don't know. And he also had me flat on my back for, I want to say, a week. When I say flat on my back, I was sleeping on the living room floor for a week. Not fun. It was boring. And it didn't really help. And I just kept pressing forward. At the time I was going to college, I was walking all over campus with a heavy book bag. I was spending many hours doing homework and studying in my bed, which was probably the worst, position for me to be in. But I didn't know that at the time. I was doing retail work, so I would be on my feet from anywhere from 5 to 8 hours in a shift, and on a hard wood floor. And long story short, I remember it very clearly. It was Christmas Eve. I was taking a shower. I was doing relatively okay, and my shower was done, and I went to step out of the bathtub, and that was it. I couldn't move at all. And I was kind of stunned. It hurt a lot. And I just stayed still for a couple seconds, and I said, no, this is ridiculous. Of course I can move. And I tried to take another step, and oh my God, was I in pain. So I kind of somehow made my way to the door. I remember my mother was mixing whipped cream because it was Christmas Eve. She was baking for Christmas Eve dinner, and she was making some pies, and she was making the whipped cream for the pies. And because she was using the mixer in the kitchen, they had the TV turned way up so they could hear the TV over the mixer. And I was trying to yell downstairs that I needed help, and I just had a towel around me, and I was in so much pain I could barely yell, but I had to make myself heard. So finally someone heard me. I guess they both heard me. And my parents came up and put my bathrobe around me and somehow got me to my room, which was across the hall. And I laid in the bed hoping that I would feel better by the time they went to dinner, and I just didn't. I couldn't move. So I stayed home that Christmas Eve. That was a bummer, but I couldn't move for several days. And of course it was the holidays, so try calling a doctor on Christmas Eve. Wasn't so easy. I think we had to wait until after Christmas. And I don't know what day of the week it was or how long we had to wait, but finally we got through to the doctor. He prescribed something, I want to say it was Indocin. I remember him saying, I'm only going to give you this for 3 days. It is a very, very strong drug, but this should help you feel better. And it did. Like within 24 hours, I was walking around like nothing was wrong, like nothing had ever happened. I couldn't believe the difference it made. And it made a difference for a very, very long time. I want to say it was a couple of years again before I felt pain, but it's just been a very long 20 years or more than 20 years of this condition getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And here I am, I'm 43 years old, and I am always in pain. I get through okay, you know, I have to push. There's sometimes that I do better than others. In the past, I've been through physical therapy. I didn't find it very helpful. I went to a chiropractor. That didn't do any good. Medications, depending on what they were, some of them didn't work so well, but others helped. I went on a short course of prednisone. That helped. The second time I went on it, it didn't do anything. I did 2 courses of injections. The first time it was 2 injections. And then about 2 years later, I did 4 injections, which was this past year. And they helped. They helped a lot. I have to say they did help, but they just didn't help enough. And I'm just at the point where, number one, I don't want to live this way anymore. I'm tired of this. It's getting worse and worse and worse. It's not getting better. And it's only going to continue to get worse. And now I'm at a point where I'm just not doing the things that I love to do. I'm not even really able to do the things that I need to be able to do. And the things that I do have to do, that I don't have a choice about, are very painful. Things that most people take for granted. Brushing my teeth. You know, when you're kind of half bent over the sink like that, I can't do that. So I have to be all the way bent over the sink with my elbows on the sink to brush my teeth. Loading or unloading the dishwasher, taking clothes out of the dryer, going grocery shopping. I went grocery shopping a couple of weeks ago, and first of all, everything I needed, I don't even know how this worked out this way, but I find everything I need is on the bottom shelf. I don't understand it. Everything. But I did all my grocery shopping. I walked around the store. I loaded up my cart. I went to pay. I helped bag. I put all the bags in my cart. And then I went to leave, and I got to the door, and I tried to take a step, and I couldn't move. So, you know, those are the kinds of things that happen to me. I have a much lower threshold of where I can't move anymore than I used to. And that's after 4 injections, you know, and that's with, you know, on a really bad day, I'll take a lot of Advil. That's like the only thing that really helps me. And even then, it just barely takes the edge off. So I, you know, went back to the doctor, and I'm like, look, it's not enough. I'm not able to do the things I love to do. I do a lot of photography. I love photography. Oh, by the way, I'm going to put a little plug here. You can go check out my work at carriehiddlephotography.com. You can even like me on Facebook, Carrie Hiddle Photography on Facebook. Do it. But the thing is, if I'm going to do that photography, I'm usually out hiking. I can't do that anymore. I'm having to carry around my my photography bag. I'll show you that. It's heavy. This is my photography bag. Wait a minute. Just backing up hurts. So this is my photography bag, and it's heavy. And, you know, I put it on a scale. It doesn't weigh as much as I thought. This feels to me like 20 pounds. It was, according to my scale, it was 12.6 pounds. Of course, I couldn't get it to sit right, so I don't know if it was measuring it accurately, but this is heavy to walk around with. And when I'm taking pictures, I'm usually either hiking or I am walking around New York City. And either way, just walking after a short time is very painful. But try carrying this around on your back. It's too much. It really is. So, you know, I can't really do any photography anymore. Not the way I like to. And that's not something I'm willing to give up. And I'm not willing at 43 years old to just lay down and say, well, this is my life now. Oh, well. Not when there are so many medical, surgical options that could help me. And I'm in a very, very good situation, in a very lucky situation, I guess, in that I live right next to New York City. We have some of the best doctors around here, and that's a relief to me. It really is. So there really is no reason for me not to be able to get the help that I need and move on. But it's still a major surgery on my spine, and I'm still really scared, and I'm still questioning if it's the right decision. I'm sure anyone in this situation would feel the same way. And before being told that this is probably what I need, my thought was, well, maybe I can just get surgery and I'll feel all better and it'll be great. And I was really looking forward to it. And when they told me, this would be a good option for me, I suddenly was scared because I started realizing exactly what that would entail. And, let me explain what it entails. I made some printouts here. This is not my spine. I don't know whose spine this is. I did a Google image search of healthy spine MRI scan or something like that. And I found this one, and I don't even know if this is actually a healthy spine. It looks pretty healthy to me. This one looks like a good one. But what I want you to see is that these discs are nice and thick and cushy, and they all have this whitish material inside of them. That is the fluid inside the disc that makes it nice and cushy. And the disc that's causing me the biggest problem is this one. This is actually these two you'll see on my MRI scan are not looking too good. And those are the usual suspects. That's this one down here is the L5S1, and this one is the L4L5. So it's the lumbar spine. Okay, so take a good look at these. Right, these are the good discs. This is what you want them to look like. Okay, now my MRI scan. Wait a minute. This is mine. Now it's darker because I think the MRI was done without contrast. It took half the summer just to get the MRI covered by insurance, which was very frustrating. And that's a whole other story, which don't even get me started on that one. So it's darker, but that's okay. You still get the idea. So you see down here, this is the problem right here. That's the biggest problem. It's worn down to almost nothing. I mean, it looks like there's something there, but what you should notice are those whitish areas on both these vertebrae. And I'm told what those whitish areas are is bruising and inflammation of the bone, because I've got bone rubbing on bone all the time. And that's what's so painful for me. This disc isn't looking too good either, as you can see, but they're telling me that that's really probably not the problem as much as this is the problem. And my question to the doctor was, well, shouldn't we take care of this now? I really don't want to have to go for 2 of these surgeries, but they made a very good point, and that is that this disc, the reason why this disc it's so common that this disc goes in people is because it is taking all of the weight all the time, every day. You're standing, you're upright, and gravity is just pushing down all on that disc. And so, it's kind of common that one goes. Once this is fused, and I'll explain that process in a second, then this disc becomes the one that takes the full impact of all your weight all day, every day. So if they were to fuse this one as well, then this one, which is looking pretty healthy, then this one becomes the one that takes all the weight all the time. It takes on all the work, and you don't want that one to go. So that's why they're going to fuse this one. They're going to leave this one be. It is possible that this disc could go someday. That there's a term for it, transition syndrome. And, I asked about transition syndrome, and I was told, well, that is a possibility, maybe 10 to 30 years down the road. So I think I agree. Leave that one alone. Got to work on this one. So what they're going to do, as I said, it's called an anterior interbody lumbar fusion. They're going to go in from the front, like under my belly button, the way they would for, I guess, a C-section. And that's why it's called anterior, because anterior means from the front. And they're going to remove all the disc material from here. And they are going to put in a plastic spacer. And I'll show you a picture of the plastic spacer. And again, this is something that I just took off of Google. I have no idea if these are the actual, if either one of these is the actual device that they're going to put in there. But it's kind of hard to see because it's kind of white on white. But it's a plastic spacer that will take the place of the disc, and it will separate the two vertebrae. And you can see there are these two little wells inside the spacer. And the only reason I went online and found pictures of these and decided this is something like what they would put in me is because the nurse practitioner drew me a little picture, and it looked like these. These are two different devices, but that's pretty much the kind of thing that they're going to put in. So these little wells here, they're going to fill those up with a material that encourages bone growth. And the bone will grow through the spacer over time. And fuse this vertebrae to this vertebrae, and it will become all one piece. And that plastic spacer will stay in there forever and ever. And that's not it. There's more to it than that. They have to hold it all in place with screws, of course. And this is what an x-ray will look like of my spine when they are done. These two will be placed in from the front. When they're all done doing all the work from the front, they close me up, they flip me over, and they're going to have to put 2 incisions in the back, I'm told, so they can put some more screws in from the back. So they'll get me coming and going. So that's a big, major, scary surgery. But I'm hoping that this is the answer to over 20 years of pain and agony and not being able to do things. And I'm hoping that that opens up a whole new chapter for my life, and in a lot of ways. You know, I can't do much. You know, even with exercise, I can't. It's just too painful. As soon as I'm upright, I've got that bone rubbing on bone, and I feel it. I feel it all the time. I do okay if I can spend a lot of time sitting or laying down. What kind of life is that, right? I'm a teacher. I need to be up on my feet during the day. I find that I have a very low threshold. I just can't stay up on my feet. Last year we did the standardized testing, and we are required to walk around the room at a very slow pace. Just kind of walking, pacing, pacing, pacing. I was in so much agony, I was almost in tears. I had to do that for 3 hours, and it seems like something that anybody should be able to do. I could not do it. I was really, really hurting. And literally, you know, you get in trouble if you're caught not doing that. So I had to. So things like that I can't do. I'm going up and down stairs all day. I'm walking up and down hallways all day. I'm all over the place. And by the end of the day, not only am I in a lot of pain, but I am exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted from it. Additionally, I can't do things like we go on some overnight trips. The beginning of the school year, we start the beginning of the school year with an overnight camping trip with our students. I teach 8th grade, by the way. And I couldn't do that this year because I couldn't sleep in the rock hard wooden bunk. I couldn't be on my feet for, round the clock for 2 days. It's literally just on your feet all day. There's this big giant hill that we have to go up, and I counted one year how many times we went up. I think I counted 11 times we have to go up and down this huge hill. And I just knew I couldn't do it, so I didn't go this year. And we also have a big trip, a 3-day trip at the end of the school year around Memorial Day. to Washington, D.C., and all we do is walk, 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 all over the place. And there's no way I could have handled that last year. And I don't know that I'll be able to handle it this year, even after the surgery, because it takes 6 to 8 months for that fusion to fully fuse. And so I don't know if I can do that. But so my point is, it impacts my ability to do my job fully. It affects my ability to go do the things that I love. It affects my ability to do even simple things like go for a walk. I used to love to go walking. I can't do that anymore. And this is not how I want to live my life. So I think definitely surgery is the answer. So right now I am scheduled. Well, today is, what is today? September 14th, 2013. And I am scheduled for surgery in about 2 months. November 11th. I think that's a kind of a lucky day, 11/11. And right now, my doctor is Dr. Imami, and I am very confident that he's an excellent, excellent doctor. I've heard from a lot of people that this guy is the best of the best in New Jersey. So I feel really good about that, but at the same time, a lot of people have been telling me that I'm stupid not to go to the hospital for special surgery in Manhattan. And so I think I am going to get a second opinion. I'm in the process of trying to get a second opinion with a doctor there. I called actually to make an appointment, and I was told that I had to send my MRI report, and he may or may not call me with some questions, and after reading the report and getting any questions he wanted answered, he will decide if he takes me as a patient. I said, oh, that's nice. Can I decide which students I take? I don't think so. Nor would I want to. I love my students. They're all pretty awesome people. But regarding this surgery, no matter where I have it done, I'm told I'll be out of work for about 8 weeks. If I need more than that, I will take more than that. I'm not going to rush myself. I'm not going to push it. I really don't know what to expect. I've had a couple of surgeries, most of them minor. The only big surgery that I've had was a liver biopsy that I was out of work for about a week. And yeah, it was really painful. It was laparoscopic. It was the equivalent of having your gallbladder removed. So I guess to most people that's not a big surgery. But that was my first real big surgery. But this is a whole other animal. And I guess I just really don't know what to expect. I'm really afraid of the pain. I think, even more afraid of the narcotics because I just don't do well with narcotics. And I don't think too many people do. I think most people get really sick from narcotics, but I would rather, at least in the past, I would rather feel the pain or take ridiculous amounts of Advil, because that's my drug of choice, to be honest with you, than take one more narcotic. Historically, what happens is they give me one narcotic, I get violently ill, and I say, no more, I can't, because it makes me feel like I just want to die. That's how bad it is. I don't know. I don't understand how people get addicted to narcotics. They absolutely must have a very different experience than I do. It is not a pleasant experience, not even mildly. You know, people will say, oh, enjoy those drugs. Yeah, no, not me. I really think that's my biggest fear. But I had that discussion with the nurse practitioner at my doctor's office, and she had some interesting options for me. And I think that there's been some progress in the area of those pain management drugs, and I'm really hoping that they work for me, because with this particular surgery, I don't know that 4 Advil every 6 hours is going to cut it. I don't know that it will. I think I'm going to have to suffer through some narcotics, whether I like it or not. And so that's one of my biggest fears, to be honest with you. When I had my liver surgery, I had that problem, and the nurse, of course, I was kind of drugged up when she told me, still from the anesthesia, but the nurse told me that it's kind of a well-known thing in the medical community that people who have reddish hair, fair skin, light eyes, that we have a gene apparently that causes us to, if I understand it correctly, it causes us to feel pain more. It causes us to have a really bad reaction to things like anesthesia and narcotics. And I'm one of those lucky folks. So, yeah, I'm really scared about that. We'll see. We'll see. You know, I just keep telling myself I can't continue to live this way. I don't have to. There's a surgery out there that should be able to help me. And I just pray that by choosing a really, really good surgeon, that I'm going to have a really good outcome. I think the person in that video diary who had a lot of pain even a year later, I think the reason she was still having all that pain was because she had a lot of nerve damage prior to going into her surgery from her back problems. She had an injury. I forget if she fell on the job or if she strained her back. Something happened on the job. So she had an actual injury, whereas mine was more degenerative, like degenerative disc disease. And as much as I've had some pressure on the nerves over the years, it's not been continuous. I think my problem is more that bone-on-bone rubbing all the time. I don't think it's so much the nerve being compressed, although sometimes it gets jabbed. But I think because she had so much nerve damage prior to the surgery and for so long, it takes a really, really long time for that nerve damage to heal. I think that's why she was having all that pain. So I'm really hoping that that's not going to be me. And I think that this is the answer for me. I think this is what I need to do. It's just a really scary road ahead. And I know that if you're out there contemplating a surgery like this, you're just as scared, which is why I'm doing this video diary, because maybe some of my experience will be helpful to you. And me sitting here talking about it is helpful to me. So that's it. That was my very first video, other than photography compilation videos that I've put up. There's just a couple of YouTube videos I've put up, but they weren't me talking to my computer monitor to Lord knows how many people. But, you know, maybe the next video I will be telling you how my second opinion went, if I get it. We'll see. I don't know. You know, we'll see what happens. So I will report back.